Hey everybody, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming by. I appreciate it. Come on in, hit the like button. We're going to get this one going. Hello. We are live at the same hotel as last night in Minneapolis. So we're going to see what's going on there. We got the Bovino coverage. Bovino, you're fired. So we're going to check it all out. Stick with us. Let's get it going. Turn them down a little bit. Greetings, everyone. Come in. We got breaking news here. This is reportedly the hotel that Greg Bovino is staying at, the commander of the ICE Brigade. Welcome, everybody. Come on in. Let's get this going. Hey, Russ. Ivor, Rio, what's happening? Everybody jump in the chat. Let's go. To the moon. IRT Media. It's probably at an Airbnb. Welcome, everybody. Come in, enjoy the show. We got a lot to get to tonight. Ice, baby. And you can see we got some great new emojis for members. The like button for me, guys. Hit that like button. Let's get it. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Come in. Thank you for being here. We're just getting warmed up. Crowd gathered outside the reported hotel of Greg Bovino, the ICE commander. Greetings to our international viewers. Thank you for being here. And Americans, I hope you're staying warm in that storm. Minneapolis police have responded in riot here. What kind of water those clubs there? outside of a hotel in Minneapolis that allegedly has Commander Greg Bovino on the inside. The hotel is surrounded. The police are there with riot gear. Police they showed up this time. Like and subscribe, guys. Like and subscribe. Hit that like button, guys. Double tap. Boop, boop. We have plenty to look at tonight, guys. I'm going to take this in here. And we can come back to this. Nobody's going anywhere. We're going to go to the White House, and we're going to listen to the press conference from earlier today.
Good afternoon, Jackie. Thank you for that. Thanks for coming in on a snow day for the rest of the government in the country. And as much of the country feels the impacts of that winter storm, President Trump continues to monitor the situation closely, and he has remained in constant contact with FEMA and emergency responders. President Trump also quickly approved 12 federal emergency disaster declarations within 24 hours for the states of Arkansas, Georgia, Indiana, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Virginia, and West Virginia, enabling these states to access critical federal resources to supplement their response efforts if needed. These declarations will help state-led efforts of turning power back on, clearing roads for emergency services, and keeping communities safe. The White House will continue to correspond directly with governors and local officials in the coming days, especially in those states that were harshly impacted by this storm. I would also like to address the chaotic scenes in Minnesota over the weekend. Nobody in the White House, including President Trump, wants to see people getting hurt or killed in America's streets. This includes Renee Good, Alex Preddy, the brave men and women of federal law enforcement, and the many Americans who have been victimized at the hands of illegal alien criminals. Saturday's shooting remains under active investigation by Homeland Security Investigations and the FBI. The Customs and Border Protection is also conducting their own internal review. As President Trump said yesterday, the administration is reviewing everything with respect to the shooting, and we will let that investigation play out. But let's be clear about the circumstances which led to that moment on Saturday. This tragedy occurred as a result of a deliberate and hostile resistance by Democrat leaders in Minnesota. For weeks, Governor Walz and the Mayor Jacob Frey and other elected Democrats were spreading lies about federal law enforcement officers who are risking their lives daily to remove the worst criminal illegal aliens from our streets: murderers, rapists, pedophiles, human traffickers, and gang members. Governor Walz and Mayor Frey have shamefully blocked local and state police from cooperating with ICE, actively inhibiting efforts to arrest violent criminals. They have also used their platforms to encourage left-wing agitators to stalk, record, confront, and obstruct federal officers who are just trying to lawfully perform their duties, which has created dangerous situations threatening both these officers and the general public and Minnesotans alike. This is precisely what unfolded in Minneapolis on Saturday morning. Obstructing federal law enforcement and inciting violence against officers is wrong and illegal. This used to be a universally accepted position in the United States. Amid the hysteria, we must remember how we got here to this moment today and what this Democrat opposition is about. Former President Joe Biden and the Democrats opened America's borders for 4 years, inviting tens of millions of illegal aliens from all over the world to flood into our country. Among them, violent criminals who terrorized American communities and have inflicted devastating, permanent pain and harm on law-abiding Americans and their families. Yet we never saw outrage from Democrats or their allies in the liberal media over these horrifying crimes against U.S. citizens. The pain of American angel families was ignored and dismissed because it undermined the Democrat narrative. Innocent Americans like Jocelyn Nungray, Laken Riley, and Rachel Morin are just a few of the many victims savagely murdered by illegal alien criminals. Earlier this month, an illegal alien from Mexico with a long criminal history who came into our country under Joe Biden's administration threw a baseball-sized stone at a school bus carrying children in New Jersey and fractured the skull of an 8-year-old innocent child. President Trump promised accountability to these American families by securing the border, deporting every illegal alien who has committed crimes, especially and most importantly, violent crimes. Nearly 80 million Americans voted for him to deliver on that very promise, and he is. As the duly elected president, the president is fulfilling the will of the people by arresting and removing these threats from our country in cities from Los Angeles to New York, and yes, Minneapolis. Yet Democrat leaders in Minnesota with sanctuary city policies have actively defied federal immigration law and the will of the people. And as a result of that defiance, 2 Minnesotans have now tragically lost their lives on the streets of Tim Walz's state. It is President Trump's hope and wish and demand for the resistance and chaos to end today. That's why President Trump spoke with Governor Walz directly this morning, and he has outlined a clear and simple path to restoring law and order in Minnesota. Number 1, Governor Walz, Mayor Frey, and all Democrat leaders should turn over all criminal illegal aliens currently incarcerated in their prisons and jails to federal authorities, along with any illegal aliens with active warrants or known criminal histories for immediate deportation. Number 2, state and local law enforcement must agree to turn over all illegal aliens who are arrested by local police. And then thirdly, local police must assist federal law enforcement in apprehending and detaining illegal aliens who are wanted for crimes, especially violent crimes. If Governor Walz and Mayor Frey implement these common sense cooperative measures that I will add have already been implemented in nearly every single other state across the country, Customs and Border Patrol will not be needed to support ICE on the ground in Minnesota. ICE and local law enforcement can peacefully work together, as they are effectively doing in so many other states and jurisdictions. Additionally, President Trump is calling on the United States Congress to immediately pass legislation ending sanctuary cities once and for all. American cities should be safe sanctuaries for law-abiding citizens only, not for dangerous illegal alien criminals who broke our nation's laws and do not belong here.
Hit the like button,
we hope
guys.
Governor Walz will do the right thing and continue to work with President Trump to keep the American people safe following their call this morning. Americans overwhelmingly want exactly what President Trump is delivering: strong borders and strict immigration enforcement against the worst illegal aliens, of which there are still hundreds of thousands to deport from the interior of our country. The most peaceful way to carry out this vital public safety mission is for Republicans and Democrats to do it together, and for state and local law enforcement to work together with federal law enforcement. We want to let cops be cops. You wouldn't know this continues to be a very popular policy position from the biased media coverage over the course of the last few days. But polling shows huge support for this exact thing President Trump is calling for. More than 80% of Americans favor deporting illegal aliens convicted of violent crimes. A country unable to deport criminals who enter it illegally is no country at all. The open borders agenda of Kamala Harris, Tim Walz, and the Democrats was already on the ballot on November 5th, 2024, and it was resoundingly rejected. President Trump will never back down from his promise to deport violent criminal illegal aliens and make America safe again, and he welcomes all cooperation in that effort. With that, I will answer your questions. And Jordan Conradson, why don't you kick us off today? Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Caroline. Jordan Conradson from Gateway Pundit. I have a few questions. First, with respect to the shooting in Minneapolis, we're seeing massive outrage from mainstream media and the left, but I'm just wondering, where was that outrage when Ashley Babbitt, an Air Force veteran, was executed by Capitol Police Officer Michael Byrd, who she posed no threat to in the U.S. Capitol?
Well, you raised a very important point, which I also believed I just raised as well in those opening remarks, in that there has no doubt been selective outrage by the liberal biased media. And
put a 1 in the chat if you support ICE. Put a 2 in the chat if you do not support ICE. I want to hear who's in the building. Let's check the temperature. 1 if you support ICE, 2 if you do not. Let's go.
Picking and choosing victims and highlighting their stories. And as I've said, President Trump does not want any Americans to lose their lives in the streets of America and in American communities across the country. He believes what happened on Saturday is a tragedy, but every life is equal to President Trump, and that's why the lives of Laken Riley and Jocelyn Nungray continue to matter to him and be an utmost priority to him to this very day. And it's unfortunate that we did not see the same type of sensationalist media coverage over the tragic deaths of those innocent American women and girls across the country as we are in the wake of this tragedy that took place on Saturday. Gabe. Sure, go ahead, Jordan.
I want to get your response to this. The Arizona Attorney General just days
the White House always has good sound.
For this shooting in Minneapolis, she seemingly encouraged rioters to go out, shoot, and kill ICE agents. And I'll quote her here. She said, "If you reasonably believe your life's in danger and you're in the house or in your car or on your property, you can defend yourself with lethal force." And she said that you can't tell if ICE agents are law enforcement or imposters, and it becomes an issue of whether you reasonably believed they were law enforcement. Do you have a response to that, and does the White House believe that she should be held accountable for these remarks?
Such dangerous rhetoric, as I pointed out, is exactly what has brought us to this position today, where you have elected Democrat officials across the country who are encouraging left-wing agitators and crazy people to go out and unlawfully obstruct lawful immigration enforcement. Again, these brave men and women of ICE and Border Patrol and the federal enforcement are just trying to do their jobs to enforce our nation's immigration laws and to go after the worst of the worst in this country. I would encourage everyone in this room, and I would encourage the Arizona Attorney General to look at the video of an ICE agent in Minneapolis. He was approached by left-wing agitators who were honking their horns and were screaming slurs at him, and he rolled down his window and he said, "What are you doing? I am out here trying to catch a child predator, somebody who has convicted crimes against an innocent child, and you are trying to obstruct me from doing my job." This rhetoric against ICE, comparing them to Nazi Gestapo, Donald Trump's police force, is despicable, it is shameful, and it is precisely what has led to the escalation of tensions in Minneapolis and in other places across the country. Gabe, go ahead.
Be looking into her for justifying violence?
I would defer you to the Department of Justice on that.
Thank you, Caroline.
Gabe.
Regarding Minnesota, on Saturday, the Department of Homeland Security posted that Preddy looks like he wanted to do maximum damage and massacre law enforcement. Stephen Miller on Saturday posted that, or called Preddy a would-be assassin. Why did administration officials jump to conclusions before an investigation had even been conducted?
Well, look, this has obviously been a very fluid and fast-moving situation throughout the weekend. As for President Trump, whom I speak for, he has said that he wants to let the investigation continue and let the facts lead in this case.
No spamming.
With regards to the deployment of Tom Homan to Minneapolis, should the deployment of Mr. Homan to Minneapolis be seen as a sign that the president is dissatisfied with how the officials on the ground had handled the incident.
No, Mr. Holman is doing an exceptional job, and he has been working with Secretary Noem and President Trump over the course of the last year. Secretary Noem still has the utmost confidence and trust of the President of the United States, and she's continuing to oversee the entire Department of Homeland Security and all of the immigration enforcement that's taking place across the whole entire country. Of course, Secretary Noem is also in charge of FEMA, and we are in the wake of a brutal winter storm where hundreds of thousands of Americans have been impacted by that. So Borders-Czar Holman is in a unique position to drop everything and go to Minnesota to continue having these productive conversations with state and local officials. And I know that he's catching a plane in just a few hours to do just that at the request of the president. Jennifer.
On Saturday's shooting, has the president been briefed, and have you been briefed on specific details of the shooting? How many shots were fired? How many guns discharged? And I mean, did the protesters' gun go off, or only the officers' guns? Do you have any of those details?
Again, the investigation is continuing, Jennifer, and we will let the facts lead, and we will let the facts play out. In this investigation, I do know that HSI and FBI are conducting interviews with those that were involved and the agents who were involved in this unfortunate tragedy on Saturday.
Are they keeping the president up to date on all those details?
The president is obviously very much on the ball with respect to this investigation. I think he's made that quite clear with the various statements that you've seen him put out, and also the 4 points that the president has outlined as well to Governor Walz, and to encourage him to cooperate with ICE and with the administration.
Guys. Thank you so much.
To follow on Gabe's question, Secretary Noem said Alex Preddy committed an act of domestic terrorism. Stephen Miller labeled Preddy a domestic terrorist. Does the president agree with them?
Look, as I've said, I have not heard the president characterize Mr. Preddy in that way. However, I have heard the president say he wants to let the facts and the investigation lead itself.
Was he alarmed to hear his top officials referring to him in that way, rushing to that judgment?
Danny, go ahead.
Thanks, Caroline. On Stephen Miller's comments, will Stephen Miller be apologising to the family of Alex Pretty for calling him, quotes, an assassin who tried to murder federal agents, despite the fact that, as you say, this is still under investigation?
Look, again, this incident remains under investigation, and nobody here at the White House, including the President of the United States, wants to see Americans hurt or killed and losing their lives in American streets. And we mourn for the parents. As a mother myself, of course, I cannot imagine the loss of life, especially losing one's child. And that same empathy from the president goes for the parents of angel families, parents of victims of illegal alien crime across our country as well. And that's exactly why the president continues to be wholeheartedly committed to deporting the worst of the worst criminals from our country. Why don't we go to the back? Kelly.
Does the president believe that the killing, though, was a mistake? Has he expressed that at all?
Again, the president has said, we have to review it, and this investigation needs to continue, and he's letting the facts on the investigation lead itself.
Does he want the body camera footage to be released to the public? Now,
that's not something I've heard the president commit to, so I won't do that from the podium. Sure.
Caroline, how serious is the administration taking allegations that local and state officials in Minnesota are actively coordinating with demonstrators through encrypted or non-encrypted communications, as well as providing government resources to impede immigration enforcement operations?
I'm sorry, Carrie, could you repeat your question?
How serious is the administration taking allegations that local and state Minnesota officials are communicating with demonstrators to basically impede?
Do me a favor and hit that like button for me. Thank you.
Immigration officials?
Well, we've definitely seen active organization amongst these left-wing groups, Carrie, and it is something that I know the FBI and the Department of Justice are looking into. Again, it is illegal to unlawfully obstruct lawful immigration enforcement in this country. And these agitators are making it nearly impossible for ICE to do their jobs and for federal law enforcement to carry out the will of the American people to deport the worst of the worst. I would just encourage everyone to please imagine in this room, all of you come to the White House every day to report on the President of the United States and the administration. You come into this briefing room, you walk through the gates of the White House. Just imagine if there were left-wing agitators or agitators of any kind who were in your face, who were doxing you, who were harassing you, who were physically threatening you, who were biting off your fingers. In the case of 2 Border Patrol agents we saw this past weekend in Minneapolis, that would make it very difficult for you to show up and do your job here at the White House every single day. That's what these these officers in Minneapolis are facing. That's why the president is calling on Governor Walz and Mayor Frey for these 3 very simple and common sense points of cooperation so that ICE and local law enforcement can work together. Again, we are just asking for police to be police. And if you ask any law enforcement agent or official, they want to be able to work with their federal counterparts at the state and local level and vice versa.
Caroline. Thanks a lot, Caroline. 2 questions. One is looking forward. The role of Mr. Homan. Is he being sent by the president to diffuse the situation that exists right now on the ground? Is he the point person essentially for the White House in terms of trying to tamp down the tensions that exist right now in Minnesota?
Well, Mr. Homan is the point person for cooperating with state and local authorities and corresponding with them, again, to achieve this level of cooperation to subdue the chaos on the streets of Minneapolis. And I would just point out that Mr. Homan is someone who has been lauded for many, many decades for his experience working in law enforcement. In fact, this is a Washington Post headline from 9 years ago, 2016. Meet the man the White House has honored for deporting illegal immigrants. And I would remind everyone in this room that it was former President Barack Hussein Obama who awarded a medal to Mr. Homan. So he's obviously very qualified. He has the full trust and faith of the president. He will continue to have these meetings in the hopes that ICE and local law enforcement can cooperate and work together to have successful immigration enforcement, as we've seen in almost every other state across the country.
And secondly, Caroline, can you talk a little bit about tomorrow's trip by the president to Iowa, what the purpose of that trip is, what the goals of that trip are?
Sure, yes. Tomorrow, President Trump will be traveling to Des Moines, Iowa. He will be making a local visit at a local business, and then he will be giving a speech on affordability and on the economy. And I know he very much looks forward to being there, to meeting with the great people of Iowa, but also lawmakers as well. Jake.
Caroline, a couple quick questions. First, does the president remain fully confident in Kristi Noem's ability to lead the DHS?
Yes.
And then just secondly, just on that Wall Street Journal reporting that we saw yesterday, the president said at some point that the immigration enforcement officers would leave Minneapolis. Did the Saturday killing of Alex Preddy expedite that withdrawal at all?
To your first question, the answer is yes. He still has confidence and trust in Secretary Noem. To the second question, I would point you back to what I said earlier. If Governor Walz and Mayor Frey implement these common sense cooperative measures, CBP will no longer be needed to support ICE on the ground in Minnesota. ICE and local law enforcement will peacefully work together, as they are effectively doing in so many other states and jurisdictions, to remove violent criminals from American neighborhoods across the country.
Did Walz ask the president to remove the immigration enforcement officers?
He asked the president to scale down, and the president reiterated what the president put out in his statement yesterday and what I'm sharing with all of you as well. I would just add on this level of cooperation a few statistics that I think are very important. 7 of the top 10 safest cities in the United States cooperate with ICE. And we've seen historic turnaround in safety in cities that have chosen to cooperate with ICE, that are not just led by Republicans, but also look right here in Washington, D.C. We had a great level of cooperation with Mayor Bowser and the local government, and we have been able to remove thousands of illegal aliens from the District of Columbia, where you all live, so you can thank President Trump for that. The murder rate in Washington, D.C. has plummeted as a result. There were no riots, there were no protests, nobody was tragically killed as a result of that level of cooperation between federal and local authorities. And again, that's all the president is asking for in Minnesota. It's totally common sense. Jared, go ahead.
Thank you. Caroline, in this process, you continue to describe the situation in Minneapolis as chaos. Was there any mistake made by Secretary Noem that led the president to send Mr. Homan there?
I'm sorry, I don't understand your question. Did Secretary Noem make a mistake which led to...
She made any mistake that could lead the president to send Mr. Homan to Minneapolis?
No, as I already mentioned, Mr. Homan has been working alongside Secretary Noem and for the president over the course of the last year. And again, he's uniquely positioned to hop on a flight to Minnesota today to continue this correspondence with state and local authorities, and that's what he's going to be doing. Fran.
Caroline, is it the White House's position that Americans have the right to show up to these ICE operations and film, document, or protest the law enforcement actions?
All Americans have a First Amendment constitutional right, of course, but Americans do not have a constitutional right to impede and obstruct lawful immigration enforcement operations. That is actually a crime, and it's something that we've seen taking place in the streets of Minneapolis, which again is leading to these dangerous circumstances that these federal law enforcement officers have been forced to work within.
With respect to the call with Governor Walz this morning, the president described it as respectful. He said we seem to be on a similar wavelength, but you had strong criticism for the governor and the Minneapolis mayor Jacob Frey just now. So could you explain the difference in tone between what the president had said in his True Social post and I think some of the criticisms that you just levied from the podium?
Fran, I think the criticisms that I laid out, I'm painting the picture for all of you in this room, are what led to the moment that we are in today, where Governor Walz and President Trump are having a conversation, a constructive and productive conversation to end the chaos and the lawlessness that has taken place in Governor Walz's state.
Elena.
Thank
you. I had a question. With Homan now going to Minnesota, is Gregory Bovino also going to remain in Minnesota overseeing these ICE operations?
Mr. Bovino is a wonderful man, and he's a great professional. He is going to very much continue to lead Customs and Border Patrol throughout and across the country. Mr. Homan will be the main point of contact on the ground in Minneapolis.
And to follow up, given what we've heard from several Trump administration officials, people like Stephen Miller, as people point out, calling him a domestic terrorist, Bovino saying that Preddy was out to massacre law enforcement. Why not require ICE agents to wear body cameras to clear up some of the disputes that we are hearing from witnesses and video footage versus what the administration has been saying?
Well, that's a policy question that I know the policy folks in the building are having with members on Capitol Hill, and I'll leave it to them and the president to make that decision.
And I just have a final question is on, you were talking about the level of cooperation.
Hey guys, hit that like button for me. Thank you so much.
That the president talked about with Governor Walz. Will the administration commit to cooperating with local officials on this investigation into Alex Preddy?
The president spoke about this with Governor Walz and said he would have a discussion about it. He did not make a commitment, and so therefore I won't make that commitment here. I would just remind all of you in the media, because I've seen a lack of reporting on this fact, there are investigations into what took place on Saturday. The Homeland Security investigations and the FBI have teamed up for an investigation, and there's also an internal CBP investigation, an internal review of what is happening on the ground in Minnesota. The president supports those investigations, and as I've said repeatedly, he wants to see them move forward. Phil.
FBI Director Kash Patel said in a Sunday interview, quote, "You cannot bring a firearm loaded with multiple magazines to any sort of protest." Does the president believe the Second Amendment rights remain in effect even when protesting?
The president supports the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding American citizens, absolutely. There has been no greater supporter or defender of the right to bear arms than President Donald J. Trump. So while Americans have a constitutional right to bear arms, Americans do not have a constitutional right to impede lawful immigration enforcement operations. And any gun owner knows that when you are carrying a weapon, when you are bearing arms, and you are confronted by law enforcement, you are raising the assumption of risk and the risk of force being used against you. And again, that's unfortunately what took place on Saturday.
That's what happened.
Will his mission continue to be focusing on illegal immigrants with a criminal history, or will it be on illegal immigration generally?
Mr. Homan will continue to enforce our nation's immigration laws, especially deporting the worst of the worst criminals in Minnesota who have committed violent offenses. And I would just remind all of you that this important work is continuing to be carried out. In just the last few days, I'm happy to provide this packet to anyone in the room. ICE has arrested multiple violent criminals, illegal aliens within Minnesota. Many of them have convictions for assault, driving under the influence, fraud. This individual here I'm looking at was an aggravated felon with multiple convictions for larceny, fraud, and forgery of checks, vehicle theft, drug possession, domestic assault, inflicting bodily harm on another, criminal convictions of larceny, identity theft, again, charged with driving under the influence. These are extremely dangerous people who Governor Walz and Mayor Frey have allowed to roam on their streets, and all the president is asking for is cooperation to arrest individuals like this and deport them from the United States of America. I'll take a couple more. Go ahead.
Okay, so this weekend the president posted that this is a cover-up of the fraud in the state of Minnesota. He also posted Minnesota is a cover-up. These both happened after the shooting. So given that these came after the shooting, what is the this here? What is the cover-up he's alleging?
Yes, it's a good question. I've spoken with the president about this at length. What the president is referring to is the fact that you have Governor Walz and, again, the mayor, who have been encouraging these left-wing agitators to come out and to harass and to dox and to threaten ICE and to make this conversation about and smear lies about federal law enforcement who, again, are just trying to do their jobs in an attempt to distract from the widespread massive fraud that has taken place in their state. Billions and billions of dollars has been stolen from law-abiding taxpayers in Minnesota. And the administration continues to be very focused on getting to the bottom of it, and especially, and the president raised a good question over the weekend, with respect to Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, who now has a net worth within the millions. And one must ask themselves, why and how is that possible? Is she connected to the fraud rings that we have seen taking place within her state and her own district? It's a question the American people are raising, and the president believes it's one worth answering. Haley.
Thanks, Caroline. I want to go back to some of the comments from Stephen Miller and Secretary No. You've made clear the president wants to see the investigation play out when answering some of the questions on the specific details. Is he concerned that some of those definitive statements made by other officials risks public perception of the credibility of those investigations now playing out?
Again, the president believes that these investigations are credible, they are continuing, they are active, and he wants to let them play out. Alex.
Caroline, thank you. Is the administration willing to separate DHS funding from other funding bills in order to avoid a broader shutdown?
Look, at this point, the White House supports the bipartisan work that was done to advance the bipartisan appropriations package, and we want to see that passed. Policy discussions on immigration in Minnesota are happening. Look, the president is leading those discussions, as evidenced by his correspondence with Governor Walz this morning, but that should not be at the expense of government funding for the American people, which would include, as you know, Alex, FEMA funding, and we are in the midst of the storm that took place over the weekend, and many Americans are still being impacted by that. So we absolutely do not want to see that funding lapse, and we want the Senate to move forward with passing the bipartisan appropriations package that was negotiated on a bipartisan basis.
And secondly, there's another round of Russia-Ukraine talks this weekend, Sunday. If you can walk us through with the president, how he'll be involved in that, if at all. We'll be talking to President Putin, President Zelensky ahead of those meetings.
I'm not tracking any scheduled calls at this point in time. However, the president remains deeply involved, and of course he's being apprised by his advisors, namely Jared Kushner and Special Envoy Witkoff, on these talks. They had a multilateral meeting this past weekend, which didn't get a ton of coverage, but that was historic in nature, where the president's team has really brought two sides of this war to the table together to move the ball closer towards peace. So the president is not giving up on the peace process. He obviously just met with President Zelensky when we were in Davos, Switzerland, but I'm not tracking any calls scheduled for this week. On one more foreign policy point, I will point out, as you all saw, the last remaining body of the hostages, Israeli hostages in Gaza, has been returned. This is a huge foreign policy feat for the President of the United States, for the State of Israel, and frankly for the whole world. The President made the impossible possible, and so it's great news for the President, for the United States, for our allies, and also for peace in the Middle East. And I understand that more than 20 new additional countries have also signed up to join the newly established Board of Peace with respect to the rebuilding of Gaza, which is another historic accomplishment for this president. So thank you all very much, and we'll see you in Iowa tomorrow.
Oh, thank you very much. And we'll see you in Iowa tomorrow. All right. Well, let's get back to the protest. They are now out in front of live in Minneapolis. They're outside of the hotel where they believe Greg Bovino, the commander of the ICE brigade, I don't know what else to call it. And they are out front of the hotel right now. And if you saw the show last night, there was a crazy scene out there. Let's push it forward here. IRT Media, big shout out. You know, a lot of people wonder what type of people are being caught in these operations. Let's cut right to the President of the United States, and let's hear, this is a recent clip in the past couple days of some of the individuals that have been captured in these ICE operations. Mr. Trump, take it away.
This is the anniversary, first anniversary, January 20th, and it's been an amazing period of time. We have a book that I'm not going to read to you, but these are the accomplishments of what we've produced. All page after page after page, individual things. I could stand here and read it for a week and we wouldn't be finished, but we've done more than any other administration has done by far in terms of military, in terms of ending wars, in terms of completing wars. Nobody's really seen very much like it. I think it's appropriate that because Minnesota is so much in the fray, and I say to my people all the time, and they're so busy doing other things, they don't say it like they should. They're apprehending murderers and drug dealers and a lot of bad people. And these are just some of the more recent ones that we have. And I can show you some of the people, vicious people, many of them murderers. These are all out of Minnesota, just Minnesota. I say, why don't you talk about that more? Because people don't know. Do you want to live with these people? International murder. These are people that are living, they're apprehended and either put in jails in their country from where they came, and the countries respect us, and so they actually put them there. In the old days, they didn't respect our country. Biden wouldn't do this because he let them all in. You know, if you didn't have open border policies of Biden, none of this, all of the things that all of the time that we spend talking about Minnesota and everything else, most of them are coming from out of the country. And it's been caused by a previous administration. Look at this, one after one. Boy, these are rough characters. These are all criminal, illegal aliens that, in many cases, they're murderers, they're drug lords, drug dealers, they're the mentally insane. There's some of them who are brutal killers, they're mentally insane. They're killers, but they're insane. These are just in Minnesota. In California, it's worse. In other states, it's worse. No, Minnesota, the crime is incredible. The financial crimes are incredible. And the problem is because of the agitators and insurrectionists, whatever you want, troublemakers, but they're paid agitators and insurrectionists. Nobody talks about the fact that $19 billion at a minimum is missing in Minnesota, given to a large degree by Somalians. They've taken it. Somalians, can you imagine? And they don't do it. A lot of very low IQ people, they don't do it. Other people work it out, and they get them money, and they go out and buy Mercedes-Benzes, and they come from here, they have no money. They never had money. They never had a life. They never had a government. They never had a country, because there's basically no country. Somalia is not even a country. They don't have anything that resembles a country. My goodness. And if it is a country, it's considered just about the worst in the world. They come here and they become rich and they don't have a job. I was told that Ilhan Omar is worth $30 million. She never had a job. She's a crooked congressman. So here's another one. And I have, oh, by the way, we just took out, these are all what ICE is doing. And it's a dangerous job. These are rough people. Weapons. This one here is very bad.
Very bad.
I'm going through this because I think we have plenty of time. I'm going to beautiful place in Switzerland. where we'll be, I'm sure I'm very happily awaited for. In Switzerland, they don't know about this. They don't have this problem. They have other problems, but they don't have this problem. Look, killed somebody. Look, and these are rough people. These are not, this was all allowed into our country through open borders. These dumbest policies, you know, men and women's sports is dumb. But to me, having an open border for the world to come in, drug dealers and prisoners, Venezuela, as an example, opened their prisons into the United States. That's why one of the reasons I felt so strongly against Venezuela. Now I'm loving Venezuela. They've been working with us so well. It's been so nice. And an unbelievably nice woman also did a very incredible thing, as you know, a few days ago. We're talking to her, and maybe we can get her involved in some way. I'd love to be able to do that. Maria, maybe we can do that. But we're dealing with the people and the president and all of the people in Venezuela, and we've been doing great. The oil companies are getting ready to make massive investments there. They have more oil than even Saudi Arabia. There you go. These are rough water. This is all Minnesota, every one of them. This is one state out of many. And these people are, let's see, yeah, these are all, so far, people that came from outside of the country. They were allowed in by Sleepy Joe Biden, Crooked Joe Biden, whichever you like. You can call him whatever you like. They're both right. He's sleepy and he's crooked. He was the worst president we've ever had. And we've had some bad ones, too. I can tell you, all you have to do is look at trade. You're not getting bored with this, right? I hope you don't. But these are people that you have to see. Strong-arm rape, aggravated assault with a weapon, and many other crimes. Gang member, known as one of the toughest people around. These are tough people. So this is what the people are trying to protect, because all ICE wants to do is get them out of our country, bring them to prisons and jails and mental institutions from where they came. That's all they want to do. They're patriots, and they have to be abused by guys like Don Lemon, who's a loser, lightweight. I saw him the way he walked in that church. It was terrible. I have such respect for that pastor. He was so calm. He was so nice. He was just accosted. What they did in that church was horrible yesterday. Look at it. 24 convictions. 24 times convicted. They're not charges. These are convictions. So he comes from outside the country. Do you think he's going to be good here? He's convicted 24 times. He's going to be good here, right? It doesn't work that way. He's a man murderer. One of many. One of many. All they want to do is get him out. They want to take him out of our country. And we're met with paid agitators and insurrectionists, troublemakers. They're paid. You know, when the woman was shot, and I felt terribly about that. And I understand both sides of it. But when she was shot, there was another woman that was screaming shame, 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 right? You saw it. So loud. It was like a professional opera singer. She was so loud and so professional.
All right, we're going to move over to the story that is on the thumbnail. We are talking about Greg Bovino, ICE commander, and it is fired with a question mark in the title. Thank you.
There's a development in the story to tell you about. It's being reported by the Wall Street Journal, which cites multiple administration officials. in reporting that Border Patrol Commander Gregory Bovino will imminently leave Minnesota along with some of his agents. That's according to Trump administration officials. Bovino had emerged as this is the Wall Street Journal's reporting, quote, Bovino had emerged as a public face of the Trump administration's immigration enforcement activity in the state, accompanying agents on operations. Quote, following the fatal shooting over the weekend of Alex Preddy by a Border Patrol agent, Trump has signaled a willingness to wind down some of the administration's operations there. Also in the Wall Street Journal, quote, on Monday, the president said Tom Homan, his border czar, would travel to the state. Michelle Norris is still with us. Michelle, importantly, Gregory Bovino had been the subject of a judge's injunction to stop using tear gas against protesters. That judge saying that it was unconstitutional. A subsequent judge stayed that order, but he has been, at least by that judge, recognized as using tactics that denied U.S. citizens and others their rights, and now he is leaving Minneapolis. My sense is that this will be good news to a degree, but that as long as he's out there terrorizing other communities, no one will rest easy.
It's interesting. I think we're showing pictures of them there, where he actually hurled a canister of this chemical irritant into a crowd himself after the judge had told him that that this was out of bounds. And you would think that after something like that, he might pull back, an action like that. He might not participate in something like that. He's become the face of something that is very unpopular, not just in the state of Minnesota, but throughout the entire country. What we really need to watch closely is this just changing, the leadership at the top of this operation, or does it portend a change in tactical operations? When he leaves, well, a large number of the CPB agents leave with him, the officials who normally are engaged in.
Right. Only Greg Bovino makes Tom Homan a good news story. Tom Homan, the subject of some incredible reporting, including from our.
Speaking of Tom Homan, we're going to look at that story real quick right here.
Back looks like this, a post on social media from our Fox News team, Bill Maluzhin, talking about multiple federal sources confirmed to Fox News that Border Patrol Commander Greg Bovino and some, not all of the Border Patrol agents will be leaving the state imminently. And we'll see exactly what that means. We heard in court earlier on today that there were some 3,000 federal agents involved in this immigration crackdown, 2,000 on the Border Patrol side, 1,000 on the ICE, the other way around, 2,000 on the ICE side, 1,000 on the Border Patrol side.
So that Greg Bovino,
conversation right now here on Live Now and bring in to
breaking multiple federal sources confirm to Fox News that Border Patrol Commander Greg Bovino and some, not all, Border Patrol agents will be leaving the state of Minnesota imminently.
And to Wall Street Journal immigration reporter Michelle Hackman. Michelle, thank you so much for joining us here on Live Now from Fox.
I don't want to see Michelle Hackman. I want to get back to the protest. Let's see what's going on over here. We got plenty more stories for you guys tonight. Hit the like button. We put it all into one. You don't gotta go looking. I got it. And thank you for being here, everybody. I really do appreciate it. IRC Media, big shout out. We have an arrest. I mean, you're just going to release him. They got some fucking lungs to be blowing those horns like that. Shit. Yeah, guys, it was a question mark in the title. Okay. Story just came out. Don't you guys get the joke of "you're fired"? You guys don't get that? It was a Let's jump to a different angle. I believe this one is less freaking noisy. Here we go. That's better. Jesus. And I do have some more stories here for you guys tonight. Here's another story about the Tom Homan coming to Minneapolis. The Customs Border Patrol commander. Let's take a look.
Lots happening today, and I want to revisit our top headlines for you. First, a change in leadership at the federal immigration enforcement surge here in the Twin Cities. President Trump is sending border czar Tom Homan to Minnesota after this weekend's shooting death of Alex Preddy by federal law enforcement agents. Trump posted about the move online today, saying Homan is tough but fair and will report directly to him. Fox has also learned that Border Patrol Commander Greg Bovino and some of his agents are leaving Minnesota in the near future. Second,
he was certainly fired from the position that he was in.
Tonight, Governor Walz and Mayor Jacob Frey have had direct conversations with President Trump today. The president says he and the governor seem to be on a similar wavelength. Trump also said he had a very good conversation with Mayor Frey. The mayor says the president agreed that the president's situation cannot continue. Mayor Frey says he plans to meet with border czar Tom Homan as soon as tomorrow. And third, some positive news.
All right, well, there's some positive news there. Good. We're watching the good shit. Positive news. So what is that ever any fun? All right, we're going to bounce back to this because I like the ruckus.
My name is Lieutenant Eric Bison with the Minnesota State Patrol. Due to your unlawful conduct and threat to public safety, I hereby declare this to be an unlawful assembly.
Uh-oh.
You are in violation of Minnesota State Statute 609.705, which is unlawful assembly.
Uh-oh.
I am now issuing a public safety order to disperse and order all those assembled in the area of the residence inn
It's crazy.
and surrounding business area located off of Village Drive and Village Way, to immediately disperse and cease your unlawful behavior, which means leave the area completely peacefully.
Yeah,
If you do not
go home.
do so, you may be arrested or
Here it is. What's going to happen? What are the Minneapolis police going to do?
Significant pain or result in serious injury. Leave the area. You have 1 minute to disperse. Continue to obstruct.
Every time through. That is correct. Oh, shit. Oh,
back up, please. Back up. Back up. Back up, please.
Oh, shit.
Back up. Back up.
Back up now.
Back up. Back up to there. Hey, back up.
Oh, shit. Coming over the firm. And we out here. We out. Oh my God, it just sounds so good. And we're just a scoop behind it. The live stream. It's a joke. That story had nothing to do with what we were talking about. So I planned on cutting it there anyway. Have a little hyperbole, a little sense of humor. You know, have a little sense of humor. Okay? Hey, Mike. Run this. Put a 1 in the chat if you support ICE. Put a 2 in the chat if you do not. Put a 1 in the chat if you support ICE. Put a 2 in the chat if you do not support ICE. Thank you. And hit the like button.
Violence are those with body armor and weapons. The only group of people here ready to commit violence are those wearing body armor with weapons.
What?
This is a peaceful demonstration of our First Amendment rights in a public right-of-way.
Uh-oh. He said they had weapons? Uh-oh. It's gonna get crazy. Now they're gonna go back like, okay. So now he said they had weapons. Now what? All right. It's good to have everybody here giving different opinions. Welcome. I like that shit. I like having all sides.
There's only one group of people here that is a threat to public safety.
They're on the move. Off the mic.
It's what keeps me on the road, guys.
I always stay just a little bit behind absolute live stream, just to respect the creator, you know, don't want to just jump on their live.
So they pretty much got kettled in already.
Everybody's settled. They are telling people to disperse, that it is an unlawful
Pretty much got
assembly.
kettled in here.
So they've been told it's an unlawful assembly.
Also, guys, hit the like, follow, subscribe, guys.
Minneapolis. There's Portland. There's a few other cities. Minneapolis.
Gets the stream out there. All fun is greatly appreciated.
My name is Lieutenant Eric Mason with the Minnesota State Patrol. Due to your unlawful conduct and threat to public safety, I hereby declare this to be an unlawful assembly. You are in violation. You're in violation of Minnesota State Statute 609.705, unlawful assembly. I am now issuing a public safety order to disperse and order all those assembled.
Everybody's gone now. The only people we see in here is the press, the media.
At the Wellhaven and Wings Financial
pretty
Credit
good
Union
job,
parking lot. Leave the area peacefully. Do not do so, you will be arrested or subject to other police action. Other police action could include the use of chemical agents, the use of less lethal devices, and or crowd control tactics, which may inflict significant pain or result in serious injury. Following routes of dispersal are available. Please leave to the west, away from the business park, away from Wings Financial, away from the business area, and disperse peacefully. You have 1 minute to disperse. Continue to obstruct, resist, or interfere with police officers. You'll be in violation of Minnesota State Statute 609.50, obstructing the legal process, which is an additional crime.
This is where it's going to get nutty. This is where it's going to go off. They've got them kettled in, and this is the hardcore people, right? This is live. Just a minute or so behind IRT Media. Shout out.
So like I said, guys, pretty much everybody has dispersed the area. Those have been several people arrested tonight. Got kettled in. The only people that seem to be out here is just the press and the media now.
Forgot to change that. They got him kettled in. They're basically
block the parking lot.
called kettling them in. They're forming a inescapable blockade so that they could arrest maximum, people.
Thank you, thank you.
Yes, hit that like button. Thank you.
Anybody in a car that's not pressed has to go.
So as you guys can see right now, guys, they have asked for everybody to leave the area. The only people that are allowed to stay behind is the press. That they're asking for credentials. Anybody who does not have a press credential is subject to arrest right now.
There we go. I'm getting sound on my end, so. You guys are having trouble with sound. Just your app or turn up.
All of a sudden, so pretty much.
But YouTube,
There's some people, guys, across the street at the Dave and Buster.
Sometimes it's a little glitchy, so sometimes you just got to be patient. That's all. It might have been a glitch in YouTube, but I had it on my end the whole time, and I have a monitor here.
I'm gonna get in the vehicle and head out of here.
Your unlawful conduct and threat to public safety.
It's a top.
I hereby declare for a violation of Minnesota State Statute 609.705. Unlawful subject. I now issue the public safety order to disperse and order all those assembled.
I'm gonna go across the street.
Okay, bro. Area immediately. Unlawful behavior. If you do not do so, you will may be arrested or subject to other police action. Other police action could include the use of chemical agent, the use of less lethal devices, and/or crowd control tactics, which may inflict significant pain or result in serious injury. You have the following route of dispersal available. Please leave to the east or west on Hemlock and disperse from the area immediately. You have 1 minute to disperse. Continue to obstruct, resist, or interfere with a police officer, you'll be in violation of Minnesota State Statute 609.50, obstructing a legal process, which will be an additional
Obstructing the legal process. Yeah, sometimes it glitches in some parts of the world. That's just the way YouTube is. It's like the weather in Florida. Wait 10 minutes or not. A couple, I don't know. I didn't say it was fired. It was a question. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Welcome. Doesn't anybody get the joke about you're fired? It's a fucking humor. God damn it. Relax. He's not fired. Shut the fuck up. How about that?
Man, the wind is going crazy out here right now.
So we are going to jump over to this story, which is about the hearing. And this is the AG, the Attorney General Ellison of Illinois. And this is about the hearing they had about suing the government about ICE.
Everyone, my name is Keith Ellison. I'm the Attorney General for the state of Minnesota. I'm joined by my colleagues who I'm very proud of today, Lindsay Middlecamp and Brian Carter, who stood up in front of the court today and made the case for Minnesota that our state has every right to have our own laws, have our own policies, and that the federal government doesn't have any right to try to flood us, threaten us with retribution, and to coerce the state of Minnesota into complying with Trump policy. At the end of the day, I stand here with Renee Good in my heart and in my mind, and with Alex Preddy in my heart, in my mind, in their families. Together with other people who have suffered racial profiling, unfair detention, together with every business person whose business has been shuttered because of this, on behalf of every student and every parent who can't get their kids to school because they are afraid of the federal government, and on behalf of our city partners in Minneapolis and St. Paul who have incurred tremendous increase in costs responding to this ICE escalation. They tell us, and this is their words, this is the single largest deployment of immigration officers in one place at one time, in a state that is not even in the top of immigration. What justifies this disproportionate flood? Nothing legitimate, but the president has been clear. Retribution, he's been clear. He's going to, we didn't vote for him. He was really salty about that. And it's unjustified and illegal, and we are praying for the relief that the state of Minnesota needs from the court. And I want to thank the court for listening so carefully. And I just want to thank all of the lawyers and all the staff who came before us today. I'll give my colleagues a chance to make any comment they want, and then we'll answer a few questions, then we got to get back to work.
We got the opportunity today to make our case in court. I think we made a strong one. The federal government has not denied our allegation of pervasive and widespread illegal conduct by these 3,000 federal agents who are masked and heavily armed. And we hope that the court will respond to our request for an immediate injunction.
Serious.
I just want to take a moment and say thank you to the courageous people of Minnesota and the courageous local media in particular, and the legal observers and the many who are documenting many of the facts that we have found so fundamental to bringing this case to court. We can't simply ask the court to look around or look outside. We have to bring that story into the courtroom. And every day, the courage of people who have come to our office, come to the ACLU, and come to other attorneys to help put those stories to paper or to photos or to videos, it's been critical. And so thank you to everyone who is doing that courageous part of us.
Let's just get to Ellison.
I'll let my colleagues jump in on this one. The first one, I don't know when the court will rule. Obviously, we hope it's soon, but the court, this judge is known for her care and excellent attention to detail, and so she rules when she rules. On the other one, we're never going to stop defending Minnesota. If things go our way, great. If they don't, we're right back to the drawing board. The moment will never arrive when we stop fighting for this state. Full stop. I don't know if you guys want to say anything about that.
Just from a procedural standpoint, if the court were to either grant or deny the relief that we're seeking, this is a very preliminary stage of a lawsuit. It does not mean that the lawsuit is being decided on the merits. And so the case will progress regardless of what happens after today.
Good. Yep.
If there's
a line, where is it? Based on what you've seen.
Well, here's the thing. If we were talking about a statute from Congress that said you states have to do what we say, then we really wouldn't be having much of a debate. It would clearly be commandeering. But what if instead of a statute saying you must do this, I go get 4,000 people and drop them into the middle of your state and start basically pushing you around and causing chaos? Can they achieve, with force and coercion and armed masked men on the street, what they couldn't achieve with a coercive statute? We say no. And so from my standpoint, once they decided that this is retribution against Minnesota and we're going to make you do it our way because we're the federal government and you're not, once they did that, they crossed the line. After that,
like
they
and
filled
subscribe,
in
guys.
more.
Like and subscribe.
They got a bunch of
Appreciate
people to intimidate us, shot up 3 people, killed 2 of them. But at the end of the day, this is coercion, federal overreach, and it started when they decided to do that, in my mind. So I'll just say that I heard the number that they started out with 80 ICE agents. Did you hear that? Status quo is 80. We're somewhere between 3,000 and 4,000. If it's 4,000, that's a 4,900% increase. Now, if there's such thing as too many, 4,900% increase has got to be too many. But the number is not really the issue. For me, the number is how they're achieving their original illegal decision to coerce us. But they did it through, I don't know, social media posts, all these people on the street, all this stuff amounts to coercion, and it's got to stop, and I pray it stops right away. One more question, don't be mad at me, but he was loudest, so he gets the last question. And he's from North Dakota, so we got to be nice to our cousins.
North Dakota wants to know how much this decision here would affect the country, the nation, because you're talking about sovereignty.
Right.
Sovereignty of individual states.
That's right.
How important is this decision that this judge makes today, or when she makes it, to the sovereignty of individual states in the country?
This decision is extremely important to the sovereignty of every single state. This decision is critically important, but as Lindsay mentioned, whatever is decided here is, we're asking for preliminary relief. The case will go on, but what is decided in Minnesota overall, this case and everything that we're doing to try to protect our state has great ramifications for the rest of the country.
What relief are you asking for specifically?
Well, we think that we should go back to status quo. Back to
80?
Well, but I'm not going to lock in on a number. I'm going to say we were doing immigration enforcement before Operation Metro Surge. It was happening. It was functioning. Nobody ever complained that we weren't doing immigration enforcement.
Well, there you go.
It's just unjustified escalation is an intrusion. But what are we asking for? I'd be happy to go back to status quo, and that what makes sense to me. So with that, everybody, sorry guys.
From your governor said that he said that the
Oh yeah, wait a minute. Brian's going to add something else too.
Yeah, I just want to add one thing to that very important question. What does this mean to the country? And this is such a fundamental structural power issue about our government that now is approaching its 250th birthday, right? So this is what I would say to everybody. What if the next administration on the other side of the political spectrum decides to do this exact same strong-arm statute, but comes after Minnesota's Kerry statute? This isn't just immigration. This is about all of our fundamental liberties and rights.
Thank you, Brian.
Mr. Ellison, can I ask you about your governor? He said he had a conversation with President Trump today. He said that they agreed to reduce, potentially, the number of federal agents in the state to work closely with cooperation and to work towards a joint investigation into the shooting on Saturday. Would that satisfy you?
All I saw was a social media post.
This is coming directly from Governor Walz.
I know, but I haven't heard it from him. So I can tell you that I do plan on checking with the governor very soon, and I'll be able to answer that question once I get the facts. But I've learned in my 62 years, answering questions that I don't know the facts about is a bad idea. So we'll see everybody later. Thank you very much.
We'll see everybody later. Thank you very much. Is that how he handles it? As the Attorney General? What a spokesperson. What a statement. I want to thank everybody for coming out and joining me tonight. This live stream has over 320,000 views. I thank you so much. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. I hope you will consider doing that because we do this all the time. It's a one-stop shop. You bring me 90 minutes, I'm going to bring you the world. Remember, the truth is a moving target. Thank you, mods. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. And I'm going to see you on the next one. Thank you. Good night.